Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Our special guest today is KC Gardner. KC is a veteran turned franchisee. She's become Reno's most seasoned dog expert. Dogs began to follow her home from school when she was in first grade and haven't left her side since. Casey joined the Navy, where her work heavily involved military dog training with water training, field trials, and splash dogs. After her military career, Casey continued to follow her passion for dogs by opening a local business as a professional dog groomer for difficult pets. Living a life centered by dogs, Casey became the owner of Zoom Room's first location in Reno. With decades of experience under her belt, Casey knows that the pet industry is the best kept secret for investors. Paired with a proven franchise model that emphasizes positive reinforcement, strengthening the communication between dogs and their owners, and demonstrated profitability for KC, the decision to open her own Zoom room was the right decision. Casey, you have a great story. I can't wait to start this conversation. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that your background sounds so interesting. And it seems like you've always had this ability to create relationships with animals. You've always had this love of animals. Tell us about that.
Oh, so early on, I was one of those kids who animals followed home. And if they didn't follow me, I brought them home anyway.
Oh my gosh.
My poor parents.
So you had all these animals, cats, dogs, snakes, frogs, whatever, following you home. So your parents must have thought you were just quite the child.
My parents actually, bless their hearts, they actually encouraged me as often as they could. The household could get full at times with animals, but they always encouraged me. If I brought home something that just didn't fit in the household, they always helped me place it outside the home with organizations or other people. They've always been really, really passionate about supporting me.
Even in your passion for animals.
Absolutely. They had no choice.
As an avid dog lover, I can totally relate. Do you have any like early defining moment that you can share with us involving you and animals?
Absolutely. I think my parents knew they weren't getting away from me bringing home animals when as a child in the second grade, we had a guy who would come around with a pony and dress you up in a little cowboy hat and chaps and take a picture of you on this pink pony. And over the summer, my mom gave us all ice cream money for the ice cream truck. And instead of buying ice cream, I saved my money and tried to buy that guy's horse from him.
Oh my God.
To bring it home. My mom said, absolutely no way. We don't have room.
Your mom said no, but what'd the guy say?
The guy said, the guy was actually pretty open to it. He I just didn't have enough money.
That's great.
That would take a lot of ice cream money, I think, to buy a pony, even if
It
you
would.
figure out where to put it.
Well, we lived in a little townhouse, and back then ice cream was like 10 to 20 cents.
Yeah.
To save.
I think I had $5 maybe.
Oh, but you wanted a pony, a painted
I wanted a pony really bad.
My granddaughter's into horses right now. I don't know if it's a phase because that could be an expensive hobby, right?
Definitely is.
Yeah. So you grew up with this love of animals. Um, and then as time went on, my understanding is you went into the military. How did you come to make that decision to go into the Navy?
I was actually looking forward to the military paying for my law school. They had a wonderful GI Bill. And I joined the Navy because they had the best benefits, especially when it came to education. So initially, when I joined the military, I was looking to have somebody pay for my education and get to see the world at the same time on somebody else's dime, and I've always been a water baby. So I joined the military and got to go around, float in the ocean for a little while, pretend like I was on a cruise ship, um, and go after that law degree at the same time. But things happen, things change.
Things-
We all grow up.
It's just an interesting combination of military, law school, and for some reason, I'm not putting the dots together. What would have you be attracted to law? And I don't get the attraction based on what little I know about you already. What was your attraction to law?
I have an eye for detail, and I believe the devil is in the details. I've always been a fan of crime drama and investigative stuff. And I was a really avid reader. I wanted to know more about everything. I just didn't know what I wanted to know more about. So the law is very interesting. There are so many details. There's so many things you have to remember. And the military combined the details and the law details. And for a little while, I thrived. I'm very organized, almost OCD. No, I am OCD. I'll say I am OCD. So that part was very appealing to me. And at the same time, in my youth, I was really attracted to the idea of being able to travel around the world while I'm getting this education. I didn't have to just go to some school on some campus. I can be in Yokosuka, Japan, studying law. And that is a really appealing adventure, but it brings in that educational part. My brain is always just working in the forward direction. So I ended up in the state of Washington, at a Navy base out there. And Washington, they have a lot of hunters. They have a lot of sports for dogs. And I got my first dog that I started working with seriously in the state of Washington because of that area. All of their beaver ponds, their oceans, all of their sports that include dogs. And I started doing the dogs on the side, in my downtime.
Side hustle.
Yeah.
I think that's what we call it now, a side hustle, a side gig.
Yeah, total side gig. But it was great. It was really great.
It sounds like that side passion overtook the main goal, the original goal.
Absolutely.
What was the turning point? When did you realize, hey, I don't want to do this?
There was a case in the Navy that was in court that I was helping prosecute, and I realized I was so miserable making other people miserable. I went home. I went home and I sat down. I kicked my shoes off, put my feet on my dog, and started rubbing my dog with my feet, and thought, how am I going to help this person that we have to prosecute? I have no way to do it. I couldn't do it. And I was tired of arguing. And as I'm sitting there rubbing my feet on my dog, I thought, wow, it took like 10 seconds for me to start relaxing, and smiling and getting over it. And that was really a turning point for me when I realized my dogs lifted the tension from me, took the stress away, put a smile on my face, and made it so, the job, it was such a ooky job. And it wasn't that bad anymore.
This is interesting to me because you're on this path. You're meticulous, you're organized, you're a little bit OCD. I can relate. You're great at paying attention to detail. So it sounds like the military would be this beautiful fit. And it was for a number of years. And lawyering, is that even a word? But lawyering also sounded like a perfect fit. But this component where you're doing psychological battle, where you're arguing, was not how you were wired. You're more personable and more of a harmonizer and a peaceful individual. So when it came down to brass tacks, right? I guess it all of a sudden was a misfit for you. And your aha moment was prosecuting a case, being frustrated, going home, putting your feet next to your dog, and your blood pressure and your pulse and everything came down and you became peaceful. That was the defining moment. That was
it.
So it's like an epiphany almost.
It wasn't. Every day at work was miserable after that. I would come home and definitely I would wind down. As soon as I got to doing activities with my dogs, they thrive on training. And I did training with them and I could sit outside, just throw the ball. And all of that tension just melted away with them. And I realized, wow, I want to feel like this every single day.
It's really like you're wired for positive reinforcement, and having to deal with the arguing and with the law that brought out all of those negative emotions, the negative reinforcement. And it was like you turned around and said, no, I don't want to operate this way. That's not what I want to do with my life. I want to be me.
Yeah, I don't want to yell at people. It was absolutely true. The military, I know it's become a lot more positive than it was when, back in my day, it was, you got yelled at by your company commanders, you were called names, it was all aversives. And, if you can develop a calloused personality to that stuff over time, but that doesn't mean that it changes you on the inside. The inside, eventually it's going to come out. We hope, we let it out. Yeah. So that we can experience some kind of fulfillment and the positive reinforcement. It's really, it's a whole lot easier to smile and to be nice and to communicate directly in a positive way than it is to yell and scream and be yelled at. So it gives you a good understanding of what your dogs deal with when you change that training behaviors from an aversive where you yell and scream at your dog and your dog doesn't pay attention. I don't want to pay attention if you're yelling and screaming at me either.
No. And dogs certainly don't. Humans don't. Children don't. I mean, obviously the military does what it does for a reason, because we do need warriors that are calloused and tough.
Yeah.
So there is some benefit there. But what's really beautiful to me is your true personality came out, that you were able to serve, was it 15 years?
Yeah.
In the military. And then this part of you says, I think there's something else to me here. And this side gig that you had was giving you joy, was giving you pleasure, was bringing you peace, was allowing you to make a difference in the dogs' lives. And that kept pulling you in that direction. Can you continue the story from there? So you're doing this side gig. What happened after that?
Well, I put in for an early out, 5 years early. I finally just said, okay, chains are coming off. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Before I lost my marbles. And I took a little bit of time off after all that time, took a little bit of time off to really work on how I was going to transition from the military into this dog training and handling. And I actually started out more handling, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go be a vet tech, or I'll go back to school to be a vet. I found out really early on I don't have the stomach for it when it comes to blood and stuff like that. I was like, oh, it broke my heart. So I had to find another way to help the animals, to contribute to their welfare. And in general, back then, animals had such a struggle. They had no voice out there way back then. So trying to be an advocate for these animals, I really put all of that detail oriented brain workings into getting to know what was going to work for dogs. How could I reach people? Because we are more difficult to train than the dogs. And people just were not as educated back then as they are now. And they're starting to really, really try to communicate with their dogs, as opposed to telling your dog what to do. Because it is a two-way street. So all back then, making that transition, it was a little bit of a challenge, because I still had that military kind of frame of mind, not on purpose, but it was pounded into me. And I still had all of that those great admin skills, those leadership skills. You can use those, with the dog training, but if you strive to be a better person, to be more than what you are, and always working to achieve a goal, you have to use those somewhere else too. And business is, the next step. How can I put this out there, use all those skills for the business as well, and build a really great business based on all of those things that you got from the military.
Casey, what do you think your greatest attribute is? Like, what do other people say about you? What is the consensus?
I'm honest to a fault, but I'm very empathetic.
Yeah.
I will give you the shirt off my back one time.
One time, I love it.
One time, don't abuse it.
Once.
But I'm honest to a fault, where sometimes I say, oops.
How did that slip out, huh?
Yeah.
This empathy, you can definitely see it, that you have. I think it's in part what made you not as good a fit as a lawyer, right? But it's also likely allowing you to be a great dog trainer, is this level of empathy. Do you find that you are good at kind of reading situations or intuiting what an animal is thinking or feeling, or even for that matter, a human? Do you find you're also, with this level of empathy, very intuitive?
I do. Sometimes it's a little scary.
I bet.
Because giving direction, trying to help. I understand, sometimes we have to break some bad habits in order to work with our dog. And that empathy has allowed me to see things, not just from the dog's point of view when we're doing training, but also the person's. I have to remember, I can see that the person genuinely wants to help their dog. They want to make things better. They don't know how.
Mhm.
And that empathy helps me help them to, give them some understanding. Where can you improve so that your relationship, your behaviors with your dogs improve? And sometimes it's one little simple thing, you know, I get it. You're frustrated in your training with your dog. Tone it down a little bit. Just, be happy about it. That you're supposed to have fun with your dog. Have fun. And in 2 seconds flat, it changes the result of what we're doing right there in that moment
Mhm.
by saying to that person, I see that desire to make things better for your dog. Let me show you how. So that empathy really, really does help.
Play in. Mhm.
Yeah. Where I don't have to tell somebody, stop that. Don't do that.
Beautiful.
Wow.
My heart is like softening as I listen. It's kind of like you're a dog whisperer,
Yeah.
right? For lack of a better way of describing it, but because it is a relationship between the owner, human, and his best friend or her best friend, when things aren't going the direction we want, right? The dog's not behaving in a certain way or not doing, then it does sound like there's a communication breakdown of some sort between the human and the dog. Is that correct?
Absolutely. There is a way to communicate back and forth between you and your dog. And it has to all be positive. We have to let them know what we want, but we also have to let them know in a positive way what we don't want. They're like children. If you yell and scream at your child and you slap your child around your child, that they're going to carry that with them, right? It doesn't change any behaviors. And if it does, it's just because they're afraid. Right. So you have to be able to get down on your dog's level and say, oh, I see you're barking at this because you need my help. We got to be our dog's backup. They're there for us. So we have to start reading and understanding what their body language is, what their behaviors mean, because they do it to us all day long. They watch us. They know when we're cranky. They know when to get out of the way. Mom had a bad day and she's, they know that stuff. They have paid attention to us and read our body language, our facial expressions. They will even mimic a smile, even though it's a sign of aggression to them to show your teeth. They will mimic that smile because they know we feel good when we smile. So, hey, mom, hi. They will mimic that smile. So far, most people communicate one way with their dog, and they ignore all the communication signals that their dog's giving to them. And what the dog's asking for is, can you help me out? Can you help me out? And they just haven't seen it yet. So I get to help them see,
Yeah.
oh, look, he's giving me signals loud and clear. Oh, I didn't know what that was. That's usually the response. Oh, and they realize it. They do. They see it. Oh my gosh, I've looked at that a lot.
Yeah.
He kept doing that. I didn't know what he was doing.
It's like
It,
learning a whole nother language,
it
right?
is.
It's
And
that they don't speak English, they speak dog.
speak
And
dog.
we need to learn dog, and what that expression means, what that behavior means, what that sound means. It's a whole nother language.
It is. And for us, we always, if your dog is staring at you, you say automatically, what do you want? What is it? We are asking, but we're not really paying that much attention to it. We're curious and we're interested. but we don't know how to get that information out of our dog yet.
This
Wow.
sounds fascinating. First of all, it makes me want to run home and play with my dogs right now. But I think there's really something to it. The same way that a baby has different cries. A baby has a cry for when they're hungry or when they're wet and they need to be changed. Very similar in the case of a dog, right?
It is.
The dog has a bark for when they want to go out or when they're hungry or if they want to play.
Or if the UPS guy is here.
UPS guy is here at the front gate delivering a box on your doorstep, right? What are you doing here? Get off my turf. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
So Casey, tell us a story of a dog and its owner that you got to work with that is memorable. One maybe where you really felt you had an impact on their relationship. Can you tell us any stories?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say for our grand opening of Zoom Room, we had this huge turnout. Couple hundred people. We had dogs, hey, every inch of our facility, right? And there was one in particular, beautiful, beautiful dog. And when I met him, he tried to bite me in the face. I know, really unexpectedly. And I had to ask the person, I don't know, you're going to have to leave the facility right now, just because this is a high tension area, a lot of distractions, for your dog. But I would really like to talk with you about this behavior from your dog, because he looked very, very sweet, And it was within 2 days of our grand opening, she contacted me, and she was very concerned about it. She was very apologetic. And I met her dog, brought him in for private training. And the first thing I did was take a whole bunch of aversive collars off of this dog. He had been doing training with a facility that used prong collars and shock collars. And I totally get it. He met me, I smelled like a dog trainer, and I was just going to meet somebody else to hurt him. The first thing we did was take all of those collars off. And right away, there was a personality change. He knew, oh my gosh, I'm not getting hurt today. Yay. So then we did some private training with him for some reactivity, because obviously he can't be around people. He can't be around other dogs just because of this other training method that he had been subjected to. Within 6 weeks, we had changed that dog from reactive to super happy guy. We started doing agility training with him to burn off some of those zoomies. And he was so happy learning. We transitioned him about a month ago into group classes, into our level 2 agility classes, because you have to go through several levels. He was on a higher level because of the private training. He could be in a fast moving class now. He's like my best bud. He comes in and he's like, hey, Casey, I'm so happy to see my friend. And he is just super, when I see him, super heart explosion every time. My chest just goes, oh, I love you so much.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great success story.
Yeah, he is awesome.
Awesome.
That's life-changing, but not only is it life-changing, you never know a dog like that had all of that become built up aggression. It could have unleashed in a very bad way.
Yeah.
And somebody could have gotten hurt. So that was not only life-changing for the dogs, for that dog, but who knows what ripple effect that had.
Well, his parents very happy now. They were really very sad. They couldn't take him out. They couldn't take him to play with other dogs. His mom was afraid to walk him. Um, she did not know what to do, and giving those folks direction gave him direction. He is so happy now. And those two people, they could not be happier, because now they see they this wonderful loving dog who's having a blast learning, and they actually did the training. We just showed them how to do it. They did the homework. They had enough commitment to their dog and to their relationship with their dog to be a success. So it's all on them, really. I just showed them how to do it, and they took the ball literally and ran with it.
What a great feeling for all concerned, the mom and the dad, and of course the dog, and for you to see a beautiful success story, a good citizen, good puppy citizen.
He's
right?
awesome. Yeah.
I love it. So let's transition a little bit. Why Zoom Room? You already had this great training background and this experience. Why Zoom Room? Tell us more about that.
Even though my training before, or early on, it didn't really focus around helping animals communicate. It was more about specialized training for sports and things like that. And then as a groomer, helping the dogs that were very difficult to groom for safety purposes, or old age, that became handling, where grooming is a huge part of your dog's health. I can't even put it out. It's just like a vet visit. It is as important to those dogs as going to the vet. All of that coming together with Zoom Room, people are where everything falls apart. It's us that have to burden the responsibility of good dog ownership. It's our responsibility to ensure that our dog's behavior is what will fit in our community, in our society. It's up to us. The dogs don't know. They only know what we tell them, or what we help them do. So it became imperative for me to have a way to help the dogs out. And that starts with people. Zoom Room came into play because Zoom Room focuses on the important things for the dog, but teaches the people how to do them. Socialization, exposing your dog to other dogs, other people, different environments, so that they're not full of fear when they go out, and they're not barking, yapping, and biting, to try to get out of those circumstances, out of fear. It's up to the owner to know, and they won't know unless they're trained too. So Zoom Room uses the socialization and the positive reinforcement to bring the parent in and educate the parent, and show them how to do what they want to do with their dog, or what might be necessary in a reactive dog circumstance, to take that reactivity out of the dog and make their dog a superstar and everybody's best friend. Excuse me, sorry.
Beautiful way to describe it. I have one last question for you before we kind of wrap up, just because of time. And I know Tracy probably does too, but COVID has changed our relationship with our dogs also. Would you agree that we're home more now? Many of us have adopted animals as a part of our extended family. How has COVID kind of emphasize the importance of a socialized dog?
So a lot of people adopted during COVID, and they weren't able to go out and socialize their dogs. And we lost some of our social skills as well during that period of time too. Yeah. So what we're seeing now is because those people have spent all this time at home with their dogs, they've built a genuine bond with those dogs. And now they get to go outside and the dog is over the top amped because he saw another dog and it might be the first dog they've ever seen, you know. They're seeing moving cars that they didn't see before because we're locked up, all kinds of stuff. These are all new to them. And because the dogs are older, they're afraid. Well, because those people have bonded with those dogs every single day, they want to be able to take them out. They genuinely care. They are empathetic to those dogs. Where how can I fix this and help my dog? I don't want to go out without my dog, and he's been cooped up too. What can I do to help him? And they jump into this training with both feet just because they get there. It's fun. They realize, okay, there's a little bit of a curve when the dog comes in and he's like, oh my gosh, look at all these other dogs. I've never seen so many dogs before in my life, you know? And once that little newness wears off and the dogs are learning and they're having fun, the person sees that the dog is thriving, so they want to learn more. They want to help their dog more. And now they're paying more attention to what their dog's behaviors are, what their reactions are to things. It's super awesome to see because they have built that bond and want to communicate with their dog, you know, on a two-way street, you know, not just one way. They want to know.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Tracy, any final questions for KC?
Not really a final question, but it's more of like an observation where I see people, families who find a puppy really cute and they're not really investing that time that's needed into the animals. And I guess I can turn this into a question like, how do you get the word out that, you know, in order to have the results you want, it's really important to create that relationship as you put it, and that it is indeed a two-way street, not just a one-way street.
Some people are more receptive to communicating with their dog both ways. Some people still feel like they should just be able to tell their dog what to do and the dog should do it. They should know this. My dog knows this. But the truth is, no, the dogs don't know. We have to read those dogs, and getting the word out to these people, it is a lot of work in some cases, but it is so worth it. You have to show them what the difference is. You can even leash walking, for an example. It should be an easy thing, you know, but if you've got a puller on the leash and now you're miserable and now walking your dog is a chore, as opposed to this is a great time for me and my dog. When we show somebody in 2 seconds what the difference is between understanding your dog and communicating with your dog and trying to be that person that tells your dog what to do, the difference is immediate. And they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So a lot of times you get the opportunity to see that aha moment, you know, with that person where all of a sudden they're like, this is the best thing ever. I had no idea. And then other people are like, they don't want to try it. They don't want to put the work in. But you do get out of that relationship what you put into it, just like with a person. If you don't put any effort into it, you're not going to get what you're looking for. So it does require a little bit of commitment from us, but the payoff is huge, so huge.
Tremendous.
Indeed. So, Casey, how would folks get hold of you to learn more about what you're up to in Reno? And or get hold of Zoom Room? What's the best way for folks to do that?
So you can go to zoomroom.com/location/. zoomroom.com/Reno-Summit, or our short URL is zoomroom.com/Reno. You can look us up on Facebook under Zoom Room Dog Training Reno Summit, or you can give us a call, 775-391-0144. And you can talk to one of our trainers. Everybody that works in our Zoom room is super passionate about dogs. Or you can just pop into the Zoom room at the Reno Summit Shopping Mall and check us out for yourself. Watch a class, see some agility, see what we're doing in private training, and just grab some info while you're in there and maybe some snacks off of our cadaver bar.
I like it. So, Casey, first off, thank you for your service. 15 years is quite a commitment. We sincerely appreciate it. And thank you for being true to your first love, your passion, and finding a business that allows you to express this passion, which in my opinion is more than a passion anymore. I think there is a bigger purpose, as Tracy kind of was pointing out, with the difference you're making in families and in communities and in society. So, and thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, it was my pleasure, lady. I hope I got it to all of your questions. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So, and the rest of you listening in, thank you for listening in to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. We'll see you next week at another show.